are the rest of you? Jacksonville, Florida, Dallas, Inglewood, Columbus, Boston, Ohio, I think that is. Awesome, from Ronnie. Reading, cool. Bristol, Phoenix, Newport, Rhode Island. I assume you can see your teammates here as well. So if you just jumped in, folks, you haven't missed anything yet. Say hello to Iram and Jessica, who are also here with me. They are on the Mindfire team, and they're going to be helping us as we get officially started here throughout the session and over the next 6 weeks as well. So let's make sure you are all in the right place. I want to get this off to a start and get everybody going, but I first want to make sure that you're in the right spot. So hopefully you're here because of the training that we're doing today and you know why you're here. But in case you're wondering if this training is for you, this training is developed specifically for you as a Mindfire family member. Oh, here comes Elsa. I'm going to let Elsa in. And if you oversee marketing or sales, setting goals and strategies for your organization, then this training is for you. Similarly, if you work in marketing or sales and your job is to carry out the strategies by executing tactics, then this is going to be for you as well. Essentially, if you have a message, you have a product or a service that you want to get into the hands of more people, that's what this training is going to help you do. Because if you're like the others that are here, by and large, many of you have found that what used to work or what you had done before or the things that you have been doing just don't work as well as they used to. And so you're coming here to learn this new way, this OptiChannel way of communicating with customers and prospects. And I need you to keep an open mind as we go through this, okay? So you're here in the right spot if you're ready to learn and you have an open mind as we go through this. Everybody here is a Mindfire family member. That's what we refer to our clients as. I see 32 of you here right now. Most of you joined the Mindfire family in the last 45 days.
Join the meeting.
45 days ago. I just heard somebody say hello. We need to turn that off. Hey, Iram, if you could make a note for our next session, let's turn off the ability for people to announce themselves as they come in, just so we keep the quality high. So here's what you can expect in the training. I'm going to give you, we're going to deliver in this training over the next few weeks, not only strategic insights and exercises that you need to employ, but also numerous tactical exercise, things that, you know, require you rolling up your sleeves and getting work done. So if that's you, if you're the one that actually carries out the work for marketing your company, then there's going to be a lot that you can get out of this course. If you're setting strategy, if you're executing strategy and setting that direction for your teams, then you're going to equally be rewarded by going through this course. The way we're going to do that is through a series of what we call frameworks. I'm sure you've all heard that term. They're basically going to illustrate for us in picture form. The framework is illustrated in picture form to help you remember the key points of each session that we're going to be covering here, okay? So we're going to teach this through a series of frameworks. I'm going to use the Mindfire software that you all have throughout this course as well to show you exactly how to accomplish certain tasks as we talk about them, okay? So today's session is going to be very foundational, very fundamental to everything that's coming ahead. But as we step forward, you will be looking at the Mindfire software in tandem with other things like Facebook, LinkedIn. You'll see a bunch of different things that we're going to cover, but the Mindfire software is obviously going to be a very key part of that. Now, my goal for you, the reason why we've created this 6-week course, is that most of you recently joined the Mindfire family, as I mentioned, within the recent past. Some of you have been with us for a little longer and are joining this class because maybe you fell behind at some other point or whatnot. A lot of you are here because you're ready to take your marketing and your sales to the next level, okay? And as you think about where this training falls within the roadmap of what you're doing with Mindfire, I wanted to kind of illustrate for you how it all fits together. And so some of you may have seen this roadmap before. I'm going to pull it up here on the screen. Kind of step one of everything that you would do as you come in with Mindfire is going to kind of be around this first step here, getting access to the software, which all of you should already have, and launching your first campaign. It could be a drip sequence, it could be a drive traffic campaign, something like that. If you haven't been able to launch your first campaign yet, go to the chat and just say, I haven't been able to launch my first campaign yet. And we're going to take note of that so we can follow up and help you with that. But that's kind of the first phase that you've been through with Mindfire, is launching, using the software, your first campaign. Now, step 2 is what we're embarking on today. Okay. And this is where we want to turn you on to how you can reach new clients, how you can engage prospects, how you can reach existing clients and tickle them further down the pipe, to move them further down the pipe with OptiChannel strategies. So this training is part of kind of this step 2, this phase 2 of what we're doing. And my goal is to be able to help you do that and help you launch some of these prepackaged campaigns that we've provided many of you, or help you understand how to create campaigns that are going to do the things that you want to do from a marketing perspective. Now, the third step here, which may be applicable to some of you, not all of you, is that if you're a service provider, by that I mean like an agency, maybe you're a print service provider, if you have customers that you want to sell these OptiChannel services to, then that's kind of the third thing that we're going to be looking at as we take you through this process, how to generate revenue selling OptiChannel. And so there are a couple of unique solutions that we're making available given the time that we're in right now with COVID and all of this pandemic that's going on. We've got templates, OptiChannel templates for you that'll help you give your customers, if let's say they're a restaurant or some sort of retailer, some sort of food place that needs to enable electronic ordering. We have a curbside ordering solution. It's a blueprint, a quick start that'll help you offer that to your customers. You'll help them, a very necessary part of the economy, and it'll help you generate some revenue as well. So we have that, which we can get you plugged into, as well as a virtual event blueprint that helps you run virtual events for your customers. So in the chat, if you're a service provider, and if you have customers that are restaurants, places like that, or customers that need to run virtual events, please note that in the chat. Say, yes, I have a restaurant as a customer, or I have a customer that might want to run a virtual event. And then we're going to follow up with you to help you understand if this part of the solution is something that you can sell to your customers, provide to your customers to help you generate revenue. All right. So that's kind of the process that we're taking you through. And we're right here right now. Okay. We're right here in this training, getting ready to understand how to build successful campaigns from a marketing strategy perspective. All right. So in this 6-week course, we're going to start with week 1, which is today. We're going to be talking about what we call the Blue Ocean Framework. Next week, we're going to build on what we're learning today and look at how to find and create engaging content that you can use to generate more awareness and ultimately leads and sales for your organization. And in week 3, I'm going to train you on a very specific set of tactics that you can use to distribute that content to get or elicit the response that you're looking for. And as it happens right now, as we're doing this training, LinkedIn is one of the places where if you're not plugged in, you should be. And so we're going to give you information and training around how to craft a LinkedIn profile. That's like your homepage on LinkedIn, so that you're attracting the right type of attention that can turn into leads and ultimately drive sales. So that's what we're covering in week 4. And week 5, we build on that. And I want to show you how to actually craft a LinkedIn post that's going to do what you want it to do, okay? You could write a post and nothing can happen, crickets, right? That's not what you want. I want to show you how to actually engage your audience to get what you're looking for. And there's a very specific way that you should be doing that. And then we're going to round things out with a look at how to write content, whether that be for an email, a blog post, tweets, etc., to actually motivate somebody to take action. Okay. So all of these OptiChannel engagement points, you need to be filling with content that's actually going to get people to do something. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we decided to provide you a bonus here, which is what we call the OptiChannel custom audience training. I'll tell you more about that later, but this is another way that we're going to help you reach and engage your prospects and customers to drive the engagement that you're looking for. Okay. Through this course, I want to stay connected with you. This is really important to us, really important to me. So the first thing is, Jessica, get ready over there in the chat. There is a private, unlisted, members-only LinkedIn group that exists for Mindfire family members, okay? And so Jess is going to put that in the chat, and you can go do it now if you want. You can request access. If you haven't been invited yet, just go there and request. Every so often, we let a new batch of people in. And this is where we kind of centralize all of the information, make networking connections, tell you about new features, give you new best practices. A whole lot of stuff happens there. And we want to invite you to that to continue this conversation, okay? Sometimes what we hear from some of our members is that the best thing that happens is they make a new networking connection. And that could be life-changing for many of you. So that's the first thing. Second, and Jessica's also going to follow up with you on this, we're going to put all of these classroom materials up in Google Classroom. Now, if you have kids that have been, sheltering in place and doing school from home, you're probably familiar with Google Classroom. If not, you go to that URL, and don't worry, we'll send this to you, and you enter in the class code for this particular class, and there you're going to have centralized for you the PowerPoints that we go through, any videos that we do, any worksheets that we fill in together are all going to be centralized there for you. Okay, so Jessica is going to follow up with you on that, and those are the two places where you'll be able to continue to stay connected. So here, this is very interactive, very engaging group here. The class materials are going to be where we centralize all of the stuff for you. Don't worry, you don't have to write it down right now. Jessica's going to follow up with all of you on this. All right. I assume we've met each other before. I just want to do quick introductions. So I'm Dave Rosendahl. I am the president and co-founder here at Mindfire. If you're unfamiliar with what we do at a very high level, there's two core things that we do. We create software. We have it here illustrated on the screen saying OptiChannel communication software. That's the first thing that we do. Second is we have an agency in-house that is a done-for-you or done-with-you service to help you implement campaigns, OptiChannel campaigns using Mindfire technology. We do that for many of you who are service providers. So when I say service providers, I mean commercial printers, agencies, those of you who are providing some sort of service to your customers where you might ultimately be using Mindfire technology as something that you're selling to your customer. Right now, you're all here because you want to drive more leads and sales for your own organization. But in the future, you may think about selling this to your customers as well. So that's a big part of our portfolio. We also work with thousands of global brands, helping them generate leads to drive sales using OptiChannel communication. So that's who we are in case we haven't met. Now, I'm going to jump in here to the material today, but I want you to know how we're going to be doing this as we go through it, okay? Every session, I want to make sure you attend. If you can't make it for some reason, we'll send you the recording and you'll be able to watch that, okay? When we get into each week's material, I'm going to quickly review the prior week, and then I'm going to focus on one area, just like we're doing today. We're going to step into here in just a minute. I'm going to focus on one area. No rabbit trails. I'm going to keep us very focused on one thing that you need to learn and examine that from a few different angles. I want this to stay interactive. I can see the chat over here. We can watch that as it's coming in. Jessica is here. IRM is here. I want you to ask those questions as they come in, and I'm also going to try to leave time at the end for questions. Today, we might not have time, but typically, I will leave enough time at the end to follow up, okay? Now, Jessica and IRM, who you've already met here through the chat, are going to follow up afterwards to get you the recording. That's the audio as well as the video of today's session. We'll answer any questions that are still open or lingering, and we also are going to be asking you frequently for your feedback. What stood out? What did you like? What made sense? Where do you need help? And we really want you to provide responses to that because that's how we raise the bar around here in terms of what we're doing to serve you. Okay, so that's how each session is going to flow. And so supporting me behind the scenes here in the chat and inside of Mindfire, there's a big team of people, but specifically today we have Jessica here on the left and IRM, who maybe many of you have met or have worked with in the past, all right? So make sure to say hi to them. Get to know them. Great, wonderful people, and they're always enthusiastic to be able to serve you and help you be successful. So thank you, Jessica and IRM, for helping us all out today. All right. Everyone's saying hi. That's cool. All right, men and women, are you ready to get started? Give me a yes in the chat if you're ready to get started. I want to see the yeses coming in. Want to make sure you're awake. I've got my Kirkland sparkling water here. I'm going to take a quick drink of that. I see Elsa saying yes, let's go. Elsa, my kids were so... I'm sure you hear this all the time. It's probably nothing new, but my kids were enthused, over the moon, that Elsa was going to take part in our training today. So it's good to see you here. I'm sure you hear that all the time, though. All right, folks. Looks like everybody's ready to get started. All right. So let me set the mental space that you need to be in as you think about this training, okay? There's a lot of different types of people here with us today. So inside this training, not only are we going to talk about how to create more leads and sales using OptiChannel, but I also want to talk to you about how to become a leader. And when I say leader, I don't necessarily mean this is a leadership course, okay? What I mean is that you need to become a leader in your organization and in your marketplace. That's really where I am referring to leadership, okay? Many of you here are business owners. Some of you are senior executives within your companies. Others of you are trusted right hands, left hands to people that are, running the organization or your boss, et cetera. And they need you to step up and deliver results. So in that sense, I do see you all as leaders. But in another way, I need your mind to be thinking about the organization that you work for, whether you own it or you work for it. You need to help your organization take a leadership role in your market. Is what we argue is in today's world, that's the only way you're going to survive and have a chance to actually thrive. Okay, so this might be a little bit of a surprise to you, but I'm going to start with a mental shift. I want to help you kind of shift your frame of reference as you think about what we're doing today, okay? I want to know, to the owners and the entrepreneurs here in the room, I want to see a yes in the chat if this resonates with you. An entrepreneur is someone who takes personal responsibility for a problem that wasn't their own. Now, you might not be the entrepreneur. You might be somebody running a unit within the organization, okay? My mission is, if this resonates with you, or men and women, if it doesn't, but this resonates with your boss, you need to understand that this is the way they're seeing the world, okay? My mission, our mission, is to help you, your organization, achieve your mission, because this is what drives your organization, that entrepreneurial spirit, okay? So whether you're the entrepreneur here or you work for them, this is what you need to know, okay? The entrepreneur, your organization, the heart and soul of your organization exists because somebody at some point said, you know what, that's not my problem, but I want to fix it. So that could be your boss, it could be your boss's boss, and it could be you. And some of you may have forgotten this about yourself. You may have forgotten this is why you started this job, or why you started this company. Cash flow issues, CapEx issues, COVID, changes in the market, people asking for raises, people, you need to fire, all these things that come into play, right? But I want you to think about, what is this for your organization? What is it that is the problem that you are taking responsibility for fixing? If you started the company, why did you start it? If you joined the company, why did you join? I submit that there is a core reason for each of you. This is something that's going to elicit that. This statement is going to elicit that thought in you. You're going to start to remember that. Here's why I'm sharing this with you, okay? Many of you will put your products, whether it's print, wide format, direct mail, postcards, 3D print, 2D print. There's a variety of industries here. Your organizations or you will put products up for sale, but you don't remember or realize that your expertise is the key to actually selling that product. And I'm going to tie that together here in the framework. I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you all of this, okay? So whether it's direct mail, whether it's wide format, whatever it is, there's an expertise that you have, that your organization has, that is the reason that people are buying from you, okay? And more specifically, it's your story. It's your message, which another way of saying that is it's your marketing, that when it conveys this is what's getting people to convert, getting people to buy. And what I argue to you today is that by doing this, you can change someone's life, okay? You have a moral imperative to get your product, your print services, the work that you do as an agency, everything that you do, men and women, you're doing because you can actually help people live a better life, have a better company, reach more customers. All of you know the outcomes you can deliver, but those are all ultimately to help somebody, right? But you can only do that if you know how to actually get the product into your customers' hands, right? That's why you're here. You want to learn new ways of being able to communicate your message and get it into someone's hand, because this is what your organization needs you to do. Especially now in the craziness, in this world that we live in, all of this chaos, it's your time to shine, folks. Just being here today, the 39 of you that are here, I know that you're a group that pushes forward. You're not going to stop at obstacles. Yes, there are going to be hard days, but what I'm teaching you, what I'm showing you requires you to persist to keep at it, to keep pushing, because you're the type of men and women that don't give up at the first obstacle. If I'm resonating with any of you, give me a heck yes in the chat, okay? Is that your spirit? And if you're not sure if that's you, if you're scared and you're thinking, geez, Dave, I don't know, what did I get myself into here? What is this? That's okay. Tell me in the chat, okay? We'll explore those feelings. I'm happy to talk to you about that. What I want to do is give you a framework for understanding the very, very important role that you have here. Whether you run the company or you work for the company, you're being counted on to improve the marketing and the sales for your organization, and that's a big thing, all right? Now, back to this moment in time, here's one of my favorite quotes from Winston Churchill, where he said, "To each there comes in their lifetime a special moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds them unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour." Men and women, don't let that tragedy befall you. Take this opportunity over the next 6 weeks to learn this new skill set, to commit yourselves to it, to dig in with me and the Mindfire team and this community that's here with you so that you meet your moment. All right? Are you with me on that? That's what I'm hoping for you. So now, if you're taking notes, I want you to start writing things down here. Don't worry, we are going to be sending this out to you, but I know a lot of you like to take notes. So we're going to step into the first part of the framework that you need to understand how this process works with this prelude in mind, okay? So jot this down. Blue ocean. This is the framework that we're going to learn, okay? This is a framework that borrows from the work of Chan Kim and Renee Malborn, I think is how you pronounce her last name. And it was written a few years ago. And we use that to kind of describe this 3-piece framework that I'm about to show you here on the screen, okay? The reason why this is important for all of you gathered today is that likely you're not selling what you actually think you're selling, okay? You're not selling print, I humbly argue. You're not selling direct mail. You're not selling wide format. You all have a variety of different products, but I keep referencing print because there's many print friends here today. What I suggest, what I'm going to be showing you is that you need to create something more than that. You need to create a movement that people are going to follow. You're not selling print to my print friends. You're creating a movement. And I want to get you to see the world through a different lens, to see your work through a different lens. And I know that that might sound a little abstract. I'm going to give you a framework for understanding what I'm talking about, right? But you need to create something more than just putting ink on paper. How are you going to create a movement that's going to change people's lives? Print might be sexy to many of us, right? To you, right? But if you think about it, print in and of itself is kind of boring, right? Just like software for us here at Mindfire. There's plenty of software, right? What my company does, you could probably find a group in India to replicate, right? There's plenty of solutions out there that are clamoring for the attention of our customers. So the shift in thinking that I want to share with you as we construct this framework is around this idea of a red ocean and a blue ocean. You probably have heard of this, right? Red oceans are the industries that exist today, okay? The known market space. These blue ocean industries are the ones that don't yet exist. They're the unknown market space. The red ones are bloody. They're bloody from all the fighting. That's why they're red. The blue ones are unexplored. They're untainted. They're vast and deep, and they have a lot of opportunity in them in terms of growth. When I look at my friends in the print market, and I'm sure you would probably agree with this, I see, generally speaking, a red ocean for many of you, right? I think you can resonate with that. But it doesn't have to be. So you're probably thinking, okay, Dave, I get what you're saying, kind of fuzzy, but how would you do this? How do you create a blue ocean? And I'm not here to prescribe a specific way for your particular organization. You know your company better than I do, but I want to give you a framework, okay? If you haven't thought about the world in this way, then seeing this framework as we step through it is going to help kind of solidify. You're going to start to see patterns in other organizations and even in the work that you're already doing that this framework is going to help pull together for you, okay? So here's how the framework works. If you're drawing it, go ahead and start to draw this on your notepad. This is not some weird Illuminati symbol or anything. It's a triangle that's going to tie everything together here, okay? So here are the 3 parts. This is what I argue that every successful movement, every successful company, every successful marketer like you and salesperson, and for that matter, even religion, I'll talk about that here in a minute, but when you examine these organizations, these movements that have done extremely well, they each have these three characteristics, okay? First of all, they have an expert or a guide. Some people call it a charismatic leader, all right? Second, they provide their people a new vehicle of opportunity, a new opportunity, all right? And third, they create this future-based cause that unites their tribe, their customers, their prospects, because they've attracted them into this new opportunity here. Now, when you start to look at this model and you look at the rest of the world, you're going to see this repeated in multiple places. Let me show you what I mean here. I first learned about this first facet, which is that your organization needs to have this expert or a guide, when I attended the Dreamforce conference a few years back. If you've ever been to Dreamforce, you know it's kind of like it's almost like a religious event. It's so emotional and impactful. And this gentleman here, his name is Mark Benioff. I remember when he walked on stage, you know, the music was blaring. Everybody there was like the assembled congregation of faithful. Salesforce is a software company. They make a CRM product. But the whole thing is very emotional. And they position Mark, he's positioned himself as this expert or guide. People flock to him to learn kind of what's coming in the industry, okay? So if you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm not Mark Benioff, you know, I don't have a multi-billion-dollar company. That's okay. There's plenty of examples of companies of all sizes, whether it's one person up to 100 or a few thousand people, where it doesn't need to be a multi-billion-dollar company. But this, I submit to you, needs to exist. There needs to be somebody, there needs to be an entity that becomes the expert or the guide that's leading your customers, okay? If you think, gosh, you know, what I'm selling is boring. How do I make it fun and exciting with some sort of charismatic leader in front of it? You know what? That's true for a lot of us, including for Mindfire, for software, right? I mean, there's plenty of other software companies out there. There's plenty of, if you sell hardware, tons of hardware competition. And if we're not careful, it can easily become a yawn fest when we're talking to our customers. So you have to find a way to excite your audience using these OptiChannel techniques to tickle them at the right time and excite them to follow you, to follow your organization, okay? So if you work for a company, you might be thinking, you know, how do I take what we do that somebody else came up with and how do I make it exciting? I argue that you have to create a movement. So when you look at other examples of this, think about Apple. Definitely has created a movement. Look at Tesla. How many of you have Teslas? I don't know if any of you have Teslas, but if you know anybody who has a Tesla, usually they're pretty fanatical about that brand, right? Or even if you think about the movement of Christianity, right? They all had a charismatic leader, a guide, okay? You're going to start to see this pattern as you look around. So I'm still here on number one. The first thing you need to do, jot this down. This might be you. It might be somebody else in your organization. Last time I did this training, I got a bunch of emails afterwards, people emailing saying, hey, I need to hire somebody. I want to put somebody in that spot. If you need help to find that person in your organization, let us know. We'll think that through with you, okay? You might not need to hire them. And humbly, I submit to you, that person might be you. Likely is you. So in each case, as you look around, Apple had Steve Jobs. Tesla has Elon Musk. Christianity has Jesus Christ, right? All of these guys, they happen to be guys, but it's not only men. It can be women, of course. Each of these guys offered their audience this second step here, which we're going to talk about here in a new second, this new opportunity, and they created this future for their customers that you need to create as well that unites that tribe of people that they've attracted. So the easiest way to summarize this in a sentence is the expert, you, or whoever you assign, needs to offer your clients, your prospects, a new opportunity and then guide them to a result with a future-based cause. I'm going to break that down here for you, okay? So if you're writing this down, we've just covered number one. I'm going to talk about your new opportunity. That's the second stage here, okay? Think about this for a second. Yeah, I see Joan of Arc. Yep, many good examples. Joan of Arc's another great example. Kushal, thank you for that. Many of you may remember this date. I remember October 23rd, 2001. Steve Jobs, who, by the way, like we said, at Apple was the attractive character, the expert, the guide, right? He walked out onto stage and he told everybody that he wanted to revolutionize the music industry, okay? He then proceeded to throw stones, you know, saying CDs only hold 10 to 15 songs, MP3 players, if any of you remember those, have maybe 150 songs. and maybe you could find a hard drive that might hold 1,000 songs. He said, you know what? None of these are enough anymore. They're old. They don't work anymore. And he did something that I argue that every market leader that you need to do. He said, you know what? We need to do something different. He didn't say, hey, I have something a little bit better, a little faster, a little bigger that holds more songs. Words that end in ER are typically not a good sign here. You need to find something that's entirely different. He created an entirely new category, a whole new opportunity, digital music players, right? Many of you remember that day. The goal was to be able to hold in your pocket all of your music. Didn't matter how much you have it all in your pocket. You look around, you see this pattern everywhere. You look at Tesla as an example. In fact, I didn't even realize this till I started digging into it here. I thought that Tesla was about cool electric cars. That was a new opportunity. And it is. By and large, that is what they're doing. But when you talk to Elon Musk, when you listen to him, he's actually talking about saving planet Earth. He's got a much bigger vision that he's calling people to, a much bigger new opportunity saving the planet than just, hey, new electric cool cars. When I found that out, I was shocked. Maybe I'm naive. I didn't know. But all of a sudden I saw, hey, he's creating this new opportunity. Yes, there's new cars, new electric cars. But for him, the picture is much bigger than that, okay? So when you think about this for your organization, whether you offer direct mail, wide format, you're doing pearls, whatever it is you're doing for your customers, you need to position it not just as an improvement in your marketing and in your communication. You're not just replacing something or fixing something that's not working. You're not just trying to make a tweak to it to make it a little bit better. The goal is to replace entirely with something new, okay? Now, you have to think about it from your customer's perspective. This is an example. I get examples all the time from customers and other friends in the industry who are innovating, creating new things for their customers because they think about what their customers actually at the end state need. What is the outcome that customer needs? And then they work backwards to figure that out. Let me give you a little bit of a model here in step 2 to start to think about this. I've used my friends here that are in the print industry for this example. If you look at the screen, many of you would say the category that you fall into is printing. Now, maybe some of you have a specialty in direct mail or maybe in wide format, right? The list goes on. There's a lot of people in each of these groups. What I would argue you need to do is create your blue ocean sub-niche or sub-niche, right? Something that you can be the king or queen of. That sub-niche doesn't exist. It's something you create, and by virtue of you creating it and creating this new space, you are the king or queen of that space. You get to own that. I'm going to pause for a second here. That might be an awkward second here, but I want you to think about that. This can be transformative for many of you if you start to think about your businesses in that way. All right? So here's the model. Expert guide could be you. You need to present your audience, those you're marketing to, with a new opportunity. You need to ask yourself, what is that new opportunity I'm providing my clients? And now you need to point them to success, to a better future, something that's significantly better than what they're doing right now. And you need to pull them there and show them that as the promised land. Let me show you an example of what I mean here. So this idea of future-based cause is one that's related to this idea of, for many of us, it takes somebody doing something that we previously thought that was impossible to do to see a new future, to see this new future that we want to create for our customers. So for example, if you look at the screen here, for many, many years, anybody know who this is, by the way? Drop it in the chat if you know who this is. For many years, people thought it was impossible to run the mile in under 4 minutes. They thought that not only was it just like very, very difficult, but that the body just itself wouldn't even hold up. Yeah, Roger Bannister, exactly. That's exactly who it is. Good job, John. Yep, Scott got it as well. They said it's just physically impossible, right? But then on one cold and rainy day, as you can see here, May 6, 1954, 6 guys entered a race in Oxford, England. And on that day, like many of you just pointed out, Roger Bannister did what people thought was impossible. He ran in 3 minutes, 59 seconds, and I think a few tenths of a second. What's fascinating, that in itself is a big achievement. But what's fascinating, do you know how long it was before that happened again? Remember, for thousands of years, eons, nobody had ever done this. Then on May 6th, he does it. How long before the next person did it? Go over the chat. Tell me. Just wild guesses here. 1 day, says Sherry. What else we got, folks? Few months? Yeah? Yep. Come on, guys. What's your guess? A week? 2 weeks? 46 days. 46 days. Someone named John Landy did it. So once they saw what they thought was impossible broken, it created this belief in them that others could do it too, that they could do it as well. And since then, there's been, I think, over 1,500 people that have broken the 4-minute mile. For me, running is not my thing. So where this kind of came together for me when I saw this was, again, at that Salesforce conference. It wasn't the 4-minute mile for me, but it was what I saw Mark Benioff and Salesforce do. You see many examples of this. I'm just giving you one here. What they do, this future-based cause that they create for their customers, is what they call a trailblazer, okay? And there's many examples like this where companies create this unique, special, I don't want to say club, but this thing that unites their customers, okay? It could be a user conference, could be something of that nature. For Salesforce, they're what they call trailblazers, okay? And what they do is they put these people on a pedestal for the rest of their community. So I argue that your job as a marketer, your job in your organization and your positioning is to guide your audience to see what's possible by taking some of your clients and positioning them as the heroes. This movement should reward them for taking this journey with you. It could take many different forms, like I said. It could be case studies, awards, success studies, case studies, anything that makes your customers the focal point and gives you the ability to draw your customers towards that in the future. So this is the 3-step framework, okay? Becoming an expert or a guide, a new opportunity needs to be put in front of your audience, and you need to draw people together with a future-based cause. When you do this, what happens? Let me show you just one example of what happens when you do this. And again, I'm picking on our print friends today. I'm going to show you an example specifically from print. Okay, when you do this and you combine it with everything else that you're about to learn in this course, all right, here's what happens. This is a message from Bill. Some of you might know Bill, all right? So he says, so Bill's a 2D print company. He says, we do a number of things to market our company. We publish a magazine, which is good. That's something everyone should consider. They do events. And now he's talking about social media, which is something we're going to be talking a lot about as we go forward here. Social media was kind of an afterthought. He took it over for his company, and it's turned into an ongoing activity. Most of our views, more than 90%, are outside of our local market. So he was using these strategies, and what happened is they started to get confused by this. He said, after a year of posting, we started getting invitations to present to some really juicy brands. We were telling a different story than others, apparently, okay? The meetings have been very elegant sales calls. Typically, we're presenting to a team. One or more of our services has driven the request. Obviously, the conversation gives us a chance to talk about everything that they do. So he doesn't name the brands, but he says all of the things that we've been able to do are put in motion. He's calling out LinkedIn specifically here by a LinkedIn post, okay? I have similar stories about the gaming industry, salt substitutes, sweeteners, and spirits. All this to say, we're interested in views, getting eyeballs on our content. We're curious about what gets more attention. I'm going to share some of that with you in this class, but we're confident that we have the content figured out. These brands have no shortage of people in our industry calling on them. Like many of you, your customers have many people calling on them, right? But they call us. And our conversion rate is fantastic. He says he's been selling since 1978. It can tell when a client is hearing something for the first time. Nobody in the world is sharing what we are, even though others have similar services. So let's let that sink in for a moment. That's the power of what we're talking about here, okay? When you can do this in a way that enables your tribe to see this future and new opportunity that you create for them, you begin to attract people to you in the way that Bill has here on the screen. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to the chat and make it private, okay? Because I know sometimes we want to ask our questions, but we don't necessarily want our names, all of it out in the open, okay? So everybody should be able to now chat privately with me. I'm going to open us up for questions here, and I'm going to take a few of them on the air. Iram and Jess, if you can just message me if there's been any salient questions that you think are applicable to the audience here. I want to talk about, I'm actually going to go back a few slides here. I want to know what questions you have about this framework here, okay? And don't worry, your questions come just to me and to Jessica and Iram. So I'm going to take a moment here and ask any of you who are brave enough to share your thoughts on the expert, guide, attractive character that you need to create for your organization, this new opportunity that you're providing your customers in this future-based cause. What are your thoughts on that? Because everything we do, all of the tactical things that you learn to do in the next set of classes that we have, all builds on this, okay? So go over to the chat. I want to know what questions you have, what insights you have. I'm going to go back and quickly look at maybe what I missed. I see Sharon saying that this is interesting. I haven't thought of things this way. Yeah, that was our hope here. Our hope in this part of the class is to unlock that for many of you. How do you explain to someone who owns your company that, in fact, they are not the expert or guide? If I can use your name, I would love that. This is not so much an issue for us, but I know this might be an issue for others. So this is a question from Sherry. Sherry, you know, that's a good conversation. And the way I've seen it with our clients and others is that typically the ownership is looking at the bottom line, the result. So if you can show the ownership and prove to them or convince them that, look, you're going to benefit from all of this, usually that's enough to get them to say, okay, let's give it a shot. If there's egos involved or if there's some sort of tie to the organization that makes it difficult to do that, then yeah, it can be challenging. But most often, if the results are there, the results that follow often will prove to ownership that this is something that they need to do. What if your new opportunity involves getting a third party involved to make it work? Do you mind sharing a little bit more about what you mean there? That's an interesting question. Anne is saying, yes, this is what works. How do you present this to ownership? You know, similar to the way I did it with you today, I would suggest, Anne, you need to walk them through why this is important. Share with them this framework. And, you know, as you go about your day from here forward, you're going to be looking around, you're going to see this pattern everywhere. And so if you can turn them on to this pattern and show them this is what we've been missing, here's what we need to start doing, then you'll be on your way to doing that. And if I can help equip you in any way, please let me know. Let's see. I have focused on variable one-to-one for a long time, getting customers to comprehend how they can message customers, donors, prospects with highly targeted messages. I know this is available on the million-piece campaigns, but I can do it on the small scale. I believe this will be revolutionary. So David, I love that. Hopefully it's okay if I use your first names, everyone. Tell me if not, if you don't want me to mention your first name, I understand that. David, I think you need to figure out a way where you're, I don't know, David, if this is going to be you, but you got to get out there in front of your market as the expert or the guide. You need to evangelize, if I could use that word, and package what you just told me with a word or a phrase that describes this new category, this new opportunity that you're providing your customers. If I could go back here a few slides, you got to think about what is that for you right here. Name it and claim it, okay? Getting started here is the most intimidating part for me. I need to work on getting past that. Not really a question, but any suggestions you have to get past the starting line would be appreciated. So again, unless you tell me not to use your name, I'm going to go ahead and use your first name, okay, Elsa? So Elsa, I hear you, and that's one of the reasons why we create this members-only private group. We hope that it can be, always hope that it can be a safe place for you to be able to share that with us. And if you're thinking, if anybody's sitting here thinking, gee, I thought I was coming in here to learn Mindfire software, yes, you are. But until you change the way you think, that's just a tool. And it's going to sit there on the shelf until you actually use it. And so for anybody like Elsa, anybody else who's wondering, how do I actually do this? It starts with being vulnerable like you just were, Elsa, and we're going to help you figure that out, okay? So go to the LinkedIn group. We'll help you. Message me, Elsa, if you want help. Love to help you think that through. Anne is saying, yes, can I have a one-on-one session with you? Pretty please. I would like your input. Iram and Jess are taking notes of all of these requests. We'll make sure to figure out a way to help everybody here. Absolutely. Dave is saying, we're trying to get major golf companies to brand their products on a scorecard that will then be presented to the golf course. The course will get the product for free and the golf companies will pay for it. So I think, David, you're going back to your question about third parties. Yeah, I don't see a problem with third parties being involved. That seems to make sense. And again, I'm scratching the surface of, I'm sure, what's a more complex issue and thought process for you. But in general, I don't see a problem with that. Cassie is saying, does the expert or guide have to be an actual human personality or can it be your organization? Cassie, great question. We're going to talk about that in an upcoming class. from the data, I'm speaking from the data, from our personal experience, as well as for some of our clients, when you A/B split test a person, so let's say you, Cassie, just as an example, versus your organization, ABC Corp. And I'm saying in posts, in ads, LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, things like that. The person, you, Cassie, outperforms your brand. So yes, you can try to give your brand human characteristics, but I do suggest that you consider doing it from a person, because typically people like to work with people. And if all of your competitors are just using the standard, generic, blah, 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 boring corporate jargon stuff behind a company page, your advantage, Cassie, could be your unique personality that could shine through and outperform that of the organization's brand. So those are our thoughts on that. We'll certainly cover more of that. Let me know if that makes sense to you. What other questions or comments do you have, folks? Today is going to be is the foundational session, like I said. Let me get back to where we were here. I want to make sure you get some information for the next step here. So Jessica, and Iram, if you can put this back in the chat for everybody, I think you can still chat with everyone. They're also going to send this to you via email. The first is the LinkedIn group. This is where only Mindfire members can congregate and talk about these things. I'm active there, as is my team, our organization. And this is where we can help software questions, feature requests. How do I do XYZ? Questions like what you just asked, Cassie. All of those are fantastic questions. Okay, that's the opportunity for you to engage with other human people around all of these issues. This second thing here are where all of the materials are going to be consolidated, okay? Again, we'll send that out to you. Let's see. Iram is saying I can't chat with everyone. Well, it looks like Jessica is Iram, so maybe you can figure that out. Jamie is saying 200 plus lifespan or live forever. Jamie, what are you referring to? Let me know what you mean there. Andre is saying, what's the best way to make the initial contact? Postcard mailer, email blast, LinkedIn stories. You know, Andre, I don't know what it's going to be for you. We're going to give you a variety of mechanisms to test that. That's the idea behind OptiChannel, is finding the optimal channel for your customer, for your clients, and engaging them there where there's a lot of attention, the cost is low, and your people are hanging out. I don't know what the answer is going to be for you. I can give you information as to what's working for other people, but we need to find what's going to work for you. Scott saying, can one organization have experts in various areas? I have seen that, Scott. Certainly have seen that. But, you know, it takes a lot to craft a message in this way, even though the framework looks simple. I would wonder out loud if there's a way to simplify what you're doing to be able to fit behind one expert guide or attractive character. Just a thought. Am I looking at the right group? Yeah, there are only 2 posts in that group. Yes, this is everyone here, all 30, 40 of you that are here now are going to be joining. So you're all going to be jumping in just in a few moments here, Sherry. Jamie is saying, I work with doctors and professionals using world's first customized DNA nutrition for each individual. I teach biofeedback guided meditation. Fascinating. Yeah, so there's a lot of different industries here represented. Jamie, that's fascinating. All right, men and women. So this is what we're going to send you next. And the next session, we're going to talk about taking this thought process that we just went through, that you just learned, and use it to do 2 things. I want to show you how to find content. And we touched on this in the masterclass that many of you already participated in, but I'm going to go deeper now. How to find content that's already working and leverage that within Mindfire to get your message out there and bring leads to you. And how to use that information to also create your own content, okay? That's going to get people to engage. That's going to be next week. That's what we're going to do next week. So here's what I'd like to do from here. I'm going to pause for another few minutes. See if you have any other questions, maybe another 2 minutes. And then I will call this first session to a close, and I'm going to look forward to seeing all of you in that Mindfire group there. So let's see. Sherry is saying, got it. So it isn't a Mindfire users group on this group. No, they're all Mindfire users, Sherry, from this class specifically. We may add other classes into it. Hopefully that clarifies, Sherry. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Sherry, got it. No, totally makes sense. Thank you, everybody, for being here. One final question that I have for you before you leave. What was the one thing today that gave you an aha? What was that one unlock within the material that you learned today that made you think? I want to know. Go drop it over. Go drop it over. John is saying thank you. David is saying evangelize. That was the thing for you, David. Okay. Elsa is saying the triangle diagram. Okay. Chuck is saying being the expert. Chuck, we're here to support you. If that's you in your organization, we're going to help you do that. Elsa, you're welcome. David is saying the thing that stuck out for him was being the expert or the guide. Yep. Creating a movement. Treat your client as the hero. Confirming me being the expert. Michael, yes. Creating a movement, the triangle in the blue ocean. We like the idea of awards for our customers. Yes. Creating a movement. Growth starts with being vulnerable. Absolutely. Jamie is saying, how do I implement this with Mindfire? Again, Jamie, we're going in both strategic as well as tactical. Inside of Mindfire software, you'll be learning how to do everything that we're talking about here. Kevin is saying that there is a blue ocean. Yes, there is. You just need to find it. Leon is saying create something that doesn't exist. Yes. Scott is saying I need to create new opportunities. Yep. Paul is saying branding the better mousetrap. Paul, one thing I humbly suggest to you, instead of saying the better mousetrap, always look for the words that end in ER. You don't want a better mousetrap. You want something entirely new, what I argue to you. Okay. Dave is saying the new opportunity. Yep. Chuck is saying, I like your models, David. Like Jesus. What would Jesus do? Amen, brother. All right, men and women, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you got value out of this. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. This is really special opportunity for me and for all of us here at Mindfire. Thank you for giving us your time. I know it's a very valuable asset, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Iram. See everybody in the LinkedIn group, and let's continue the discussion there. Bye-bye.